I am pleased and honored to introduce Karen Forget, the class of 2012. She came to Lynnhaven River now after 30 years as a science teacher and headmaster of a private school. She first became involved with Lynnhaven River now as a citizen oyster gardener, which she has been doing now for 18 years. Since 2005, Karen has been working full-time with Lynnhaven River now as the Education Outreach Coordinator, and since 2007 as the Executive Director. Please welcome Karen Forget.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I frequently have the opportunity to talk about oyster restoration and living shorelines and stormwater management and water quality and all those kind of topics. But when I was invited to speak on leadership, I have to say that it was kind of daunting. Like Mike said earlier, leadership is so complex. It's about knowledge and integrity and inspiration, and it's a really, really complex topic. So I decided to focus on one lesson that I feel like I learned early in my career that has worked well for me, has served me well over many years. Like all great researchers, my first stop was Google. Google Images specifically. I Googled leadership, and this is a sampling of the kinds of images that showed up. In almost all of them, the leader was pictured as bigger and louder, and almost always in the front. I have to say that this was one out of about 50 images. That was one of two that pictured women in leadership roles. Pretty bad. This poor guy, this poor guy's team is actually holding him up. And this poor fellow is dragging people behind him, literally. So these images didn't work for me. I think that we're really in need of a new vision of what leadership is, and these don't work. One of my very first significant leadership roles was as the head of a private school. And an early task given to me by the board was to bring them an organizational chart for our school. You know, the typical corporate kind of organizational chart. I have a little disclaimer that the graphics there was a beautiful little triangle on here that you can see on the screen, but you can't see up here. So I think what they were looking for was kind of the typical, pyramid with the board of directors at the top and the headmaster, and then, and then at the very bottom, the students and their family. And the idea that they were looking for is if they were a brilliant board of directors and I was a brilliant headmaster, that brilliance would trickle down to the students and their families. So I thought about that, what they were kind of looking for. And what I brought them was the complete opposite. I turned it upside down. And again, if you could see the graphics, you would see that this is an upside down pyramid. And my reasoning was that our success as a school was measured by the performance of our students, not by the performance of the board, not by the performance of me as a headmaster, but our success was measured by the performance of our students. So what we needed to do was everything that we could, not to look brilliant ourselves, but to make our students look brilliant. I contend that this is not just a little trick, that this is a profoundly different way of kind of looking at leadership. If we go back to that first model, the kind of typical top-down sort of model of leadership, what kind of words come to your mind? We've all worked in this kind of situation. You may work in one now. What kind of words come to mind? What? Authority, boss, right? Discipline. Pecking order, hierarchy. Pardon me? Top down. the same kinds of words that I came up with. Whoops, where's my list? Boss, a boss who directs you, a hierarchy or pecking order. Everybody knows who's going to evaluate you, who's above you, who your supervisor is. A sense of competition for limited promotions, and always limited promotions. There's always this sense that there are only a limited number of people who can succeed in this company, and you have to compete for that success. A lot of times there's the veiled threat that if you don't measure up or you don't meet your supervisor's expectations, you may lose your job, you may get laid off or fired. And the meeting the supervisor's expectation is the ultimate thing, not your own expectations. And it's all measured by those performance assessments. If we go back to the other model, the kind of where the students and families or the community that you serve is on the top, what kind of words come to mind? Shared leadership, collaboration, service, community, mentoring. Hey, that's kind of what I came up with too. Inspiring, supporting, nurturing, appreciating, teamwork, collaboration, encouragement. There's some graphic errors here. I don't take responsibility for that. Vision. You have to have a vision, cooperation, passion. This is really a fundamentally different way of looking at leadership. Now, this is kind of messed up. I'm sorry. In the work that we do in the environmental world, I think that this upside down pyramid is the only one that will work for us. That the measure of our success has to be in the community that we serve. How effectively are we meeting the needs of the community that we serve? How effectively are we influencing change in the community that we serve? That's the measure of our success, and that has to be what guides our actions and guides our decisions as leaders. It's not about growing yourself, it's about growing your community, and that community could be your company, it could be the organization in which you work, it could be the city where you work, could be the state of Virginia, could be the nation or the world. That changing that community is essentially the fundamental part of the work that we're doing. And I call it, this is really annoying, that everything's out of order. Sorry, the slides are all mixed up. So essentially, I think the work that we are trying to do is transformation. And that is really difficult, hard work. It's going to take the kind of leader, if we're going to transform our communities, if we're going to build a new model for the world, which is really what we're doing. For the last 300 years, our history has been pretty much exploiting natural resources. The wealth of our country is based basically on a culture of exploiting our natural resources. The last 150 years, our economy is built on burning fossil fuels. And neither of those models work anymore. We are really in the business of transforming the way we see the world, the way we see ourselves in relationship with our planet, the way we see ourselves in relationship with all the other organisms that share this planet with us. And that's huge work. That's unbelievably big work to do. And if we're going to be successful at that, I'm sorry, then we have to have integrity. We have to have leaders who have integrity. And we can talk about what integrity means. We have to have leaders who can inspire others. We have to have leaders who support change. and leaders who can nurture others and support growth in others, who show appreciation for the small steps that people are taking to make those kinds of changes, who can create teams, who can encourage change, encourage risk, who have, and most importantly, probably who have a vision and have a passion for what they're doing, and probably most importantly of all, who can grow new leaders. So if we go back to these images again, none of these images work for me. They still don't work for me, and I have a feeling they don't really work for you either. So I thought about how to create a new visual for this different kind of leadership. And what I came up with was this: that change is a very delicate plant. Change and transformation is a very delicate process, and it's one that needs support and nurturing and encouragement if it's going to happen. And I don't want to leave you with the idea, and I know I'm out of time, I don't want to leave you with the idea that this is a passive form of leadership, because it's not. It's a very active form of leadership, and it requires everything that you can give to it if it's going to be successful. So thank you for listening to my thoughts this morning. And I'm going to close with this quote from John Quincy Adams. If your actions inspire others to dream more, to learn more, to do more, and become more, you are a leader. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. Thank you.
Thank you.